So you see that pride in everything. Value has, I'm not going to say in non-family owned companies there's not value, but for them, they're more selective too about who they're going to approach. So it isn't about how can we gain the most profit margin as quickly as possible. The focus more with the family-owned company is how can we build a long-term relationship with you?
Hello, everyone. Welcome to Dynaway Dialogues. I'm your host, Jesse Zdonik, Business Development Manager, North America. I'm real excited to have today with us Scott Gebar. That is how you pronounce it, Scott, isn't it?
Yes. Yep.
Okay, excellent. Scott is the Director of Information Technology at MJ Celco, and they're a leading manufacturer of metal stamping and assemblies. He's got over 35 years of experience with IT projects and managing across different industries, including, it says here, the military, healthcare, manufacturing, of course.
Yep.
Kind of a breadth of knowledge, and we're real excited to have you today. Welcome, Scott.
Thank you. Yep. Hello, everyone. I'm glad to be here and share some of my experiences with everybody.
Good. Well, just from the intro, it's kind of intriguing. You've done a lot of things. You've been across many industries. Tell us a little bit about your background and kind of how, how you've come to this point in your career.
Well, I, went in the military very young. I was 17, joined the Army
Mm-hmm.
as a telecommunications engineer.
Okay.
So that's kind of where I got my start in IT or technology, but also that was kind of my segue into process. As you would imagine, everything in the military has a process down to tying your boots. So I really learned the value of having well-documented process and procedure. So that kind of formed me or made me who I was to a
Mm-hmm.
degree. I was in the military about 10 years and then left, and I was still fairly young and got started working in a software development company doing support, and then started doing network installations, and then I went into healthcare, and I was in healthcare for about 10 years roughly. Yeah, so implementing electronic medical records, health records, for profit, not for profit healthcare. Those were fairly challenging projects, especially during the early adoption of electronic medical records.
Mm-hmm.
And the interesting thing that I learned through that process, which really is relative to even maintenance systems now, is having a system that doesn't necessarily dictate every facet of how a person needs to do their job. So early electronic medical records, for example, were very stringent. The procedures were dictated by the software development company, and the expectation was that these doctors, surgeons, practitioners would provide care per the procedures dictated by the software. So it did not go well, as you could imagine. And obviously, those systems went through evolutions, and they're better now. And the reason I said that is that's one of the main reasons we chose Dynaway EAM, was because of that flexibility to be able to incorporate our strategic processes into that system. So, and then obviously I landed in manufacturing, and I was already trained in Six Sigma. When I was in healthcare, that's where I worked through Six Sigma and explored using that in the healthcare setting. So I was able to take those skills and transfer them to manufacturing pretty easily, as you could
Mm-hmm.
imagine, because it's part of how they eat, breathe, live every day in these plants. So I've been with, like you said, I've been with MJ Celco about 10 years. And been through all levels of IT. When I started there, we started overhauling the infrastructure and then kind of moved into collapsing applications and moving to the cloud. And now our focus is on data analytics and our main operational systems, especially systems that have an impact on the production floor, on the shop
Yeah.
floors in the plants. Yep.
Yeah. Excellent. Yeah, I was going to say my long career also mirrors what you were talking about with systems. Initially, EAM systems specifically is my career. Very stringent early on in the in the early iterations, and then obviously supply and demand, right? People demand
Mhm.
more flexible systems, easier to be able to use, and that I've really seen that evolution of EAM systems over the years.
Yeah, yeah, agreed.
Well, let me ask you about MJ Celco. Now you're
Mhm.
a precision metal stamping company. Tell us a little bit about your products, kind of what MJ Celco's mission is. Who are your customers, and why do they come to you?
Yeah, we're an international metal stamping and metal fabrication
Hmm.
company. So we are mainly handling, rolled steel or stock, other kind of stock. We do red metals and other materials, but the majority of our stamping operations is cold rolled steel, for example. You'll see more other metals in our fabrication division. So most of our customers vary. We have thousands of parts that we produce. Some of our larger areas are automotive,
Okay.
consumer electronics. We also handle other consumer products like parts for refrigerators, stoves, microwaves. So our parts are everywhere. And on the automotive side, most of the products we're handling are around safety.
Hmm.
So airbag assemblies, seat belt assemblies, so curtain airbag assemblies, all the metal components.
Mm.
So we have plants in the United States and in Mexico.
Okay. Great. Now I know MJ Silco is a family-owned business, but a global business. So, how does that affect operations? You work for healthcare companies, which I assume are large
Yes.
entities. What's different? What do you like about working for a family-owned business?
One of the most significant differences
Hmm.
that I have noticed is the the focus on value because they take it personally, because
Mm.
it's a family-owned business.
Right.
It permeates through every aspect of the company, down to the
Hmm.
shop floor. So a lot of the family members are still there, that work there. There's quite a few of them, our engineers, our tooling engineers, and are working down on the shop floor. So you see that pride in everything.
Right.
Value has, I'm not going to say in non-family owned companies there's not value, but
Yeah.
for them, they're more selective too
Hmm.
about who they're going to approach. So it isn't about how can we gain the most profit margin as quickly as possible. The focus more with the family owned company is how can we build a long-term relationship with you, right? And that's more important on the forefront than what necessarily the profit margin is right now. So, um, those are some differences. I enjoy that, right?
Yeah.
There's of course, in a family-owned company, there's a little less bureaucracy around getting things done. We tend to move quicker. We're a little more nimble, and that could be somewhat relative to my experiences in the military and healthcare. Right? They tend to
Right.
be more
Right.
stringent in decision
Yeah.
making,
Right.
but I do like that. That also is one of the reasons we chose Dynaway too was their adaptability to our needs. It's kind of a nice synergy between how we operate and how Dynaway is able to support us. So yeah, I mean that that's significant. I really enjoy that facet of it.
Hmm.
So I'm not sure how I would be able to operate if I didn't have that. I don't think things would have necessarily moved as quickly as they had.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Dynaway is we're not family owned, but we are a small organization. And what I've really enjoyed about that is really in the conflict resolution that when a customer's unhappy, which happens, in all businesses, you've really been given the leeway and the opportunity to make it right for the customer.
Correct. Yep.
To if we have to redo something, or if we have to go above and beyond, um, because value is important to them, they want to make that customer happy, and that doesn't always happen in really large organizations, I don't think.
No, it
So
does not. And I understand those dynamics, but
yeah.
that in a larger organization, especially software development, but I have had those a couple of instances of that with Dynaway, which I believe you were even a part of one of them at one
Yeah.
point.
Right.
And always, to my surprise, they were handled quickly, fairly, and there were definitely a couple of times that exceeded our expectations, right, of what we thought was going to happen. So,
Yeah.
yeah, we've been really pleased, even down to asking for new functionality and seeing it appear on the roadmap quickly and
Hmm.
introduced into a new version. That's within a couple of months. You don't always get that with larger
Yeah.
software companies. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, thank you for saying that. I didn't plan or pay you to say that, but I
No,
appreciate
it's just the truth.
it.
So,
Exactly.
yes,
All right. Well, let's talk about Business Central and kind of your journey along with that. Can you start by walking us through the project of what you were looking for when you wanted to implement a new enterprise asset management system? Why were you looking for something, and what you were doing, prior to what you implemented with Dynaway?
sure, sure. So we had already launched Business Central.
Hmm.
Um, we were using it really minimal. We still have an IBM mainframe.
Okay.
That's our main MRP. We will fully move off of that in time, but right now it's our main system. And we were using Dynamics for estimating and quoting and sales, CRM. So we ran into an issue with our one of our maintenance systems at one of our stamping plants. It was an older system. It just didn't have a lot of analytics. There were a lot of issues with it. So there were some goals we had in mind when we knew we needed to upgrade the system. So I, of course, was looking for a system that was already integrated with BC. And so that narrowed my search significantly. I will tell you, though, I did look at almost every single vendor that was available in AppSource,
Hmm.
and kind of looked through that and watched their YouTube videos, and we knew kind of what we wanted. In the end, one of the reasons we selected Dynaway to meet our needs was because we knew we could launch this across all of our plants, that we
Okay.
could have this holistic view into our maintenance operations, and the to have it pre-integrated obviously into BC. So that those having that is what drove our selection of Dynaway. So, because those were some of the things we needed: better data analytics. We're an ISO 9001 and
Hmm.
IATF certified company. So we need to be able to very quickly be able to pick an asset, whether it's a piece of machinery, it's a quality gauge, it's a tool or a die, and have an auditor be able to retrieve information, maintenance information on that asset quickly. And it's accurate, it's complete, and not have to go search through file cabinets and
Right.
not, yeah, that's how we were doing things, to be honest. So that
Okay.
was one of the big challenges, is me working in IT, right? I wanted to put that information at everybody's fingertips. Also provide on our corporate level the ability to have a deep dive view um, from the top level all the way down through all our plants, through all maintenance activities. So that was why those were all the drivers in selecting Dynamics or just selecting Dynaway EAM.
Gotcha. And do you feel like you kind of got there? You achieved your goals that you kind of set out?
Yeah, we did in combination of Dynaway EAM and Power BI. We
Mm,
have actually accomplished that. So we currently have EAM running in 3 plants
okay.
across all maintenance departments, 2 quality departments, and a tooling department. So we're actually launching another tooling department right now.
Okay.
Um, so it's going really well, and using Power BI to provide us the analytics and that deep down, drill down ability to look at how we're doing has been a game changer for us.
That's very important. And I do want to point out um, and say that leadership's very important there. So, Scott, I think what you've done, software is important, but I always tell people that's half the battle. You know, having good people, project champions at the other end, people that are going to naturally be curious and say, you know, I don't want to just do the minimum. I want to figure this out and figure out how we can make things better. That's so important as well. So it's a testament to your people there, I think.
Yeah, it's learning their processes, listening well
Mhm.
is important, so you have a good understanding, and taking a iterative approach.
Mhm.
So, I mean, our first pass when we rolled this out, you know, of course we had some issues and we had to
Yeah,
change things, but we just kept at it.
exactly.
I will say that IT spent a lot of time working with each of these departments as we did this, and the initial reaction honestly was, why is IT doing all of this? Why
Yeah,
aren't they just doing the computers and making sure the software is available? But what we've discovered is, I don't want to say it's a means to an end, but we're good with systems. We're
yeah.
good with process. And I have a background in Lean and Six Sigma, so I can apply that to these projects and really gain a better understanding of what these departments need. That honestly, more than anything else, that's what made this happen,
Yep,
is
exactly.
doing that and
Yeah.
working with these managers, working with the staff. You have to keep doing it. And there are issues that are going to come up that
Hmm.
are outside of process, outside of the system, which are more managerial, and that's organizational, of course, right?
Hmm.
So you do have to find ways to deal with those issues as well.
So you were touching on implementation there, but tell
Mhm.
me a little bit more. How long did it take to implement the software? What were the challenges, you know, that you maybe expected or didn't expect?
Uh, as you could imagine, or actually not imagine,
Yeah,
getting the software running was not an issue, right? That
yeah,
was pretty easy. We rolled it out
yeah.
via app source, and once actually we were on a trial license for about a month, and we selected the one maintenance department that we needed to get this done. Of course, our
Okay.
biggest concern was we were able to set the system up pretty quickly, mainly because the processes of that maintenance department were pretty simple. They there are things that we are going to continue to implement with them, um, for to support predictive maintenance better, but initially it was they needed the assets, they needed work order plans, checklists,
Yeah.
and schedules, right? Or the
Hmm.
scheduling. And so it was getting the assets in and getting the history from the old system in. By far, that was the most difficult piece, right? But
Right.
I will say, I was still relatively new to Dynamics BC, but Dynaway was great in helping me build a configuration workbook to structure the data from the old system, and we were able to bring in over 35,000 work orders from the old
Mm,
system into the new
fantastic.
system. So
Mm,
we were able to maintain all of the history since 2012 on that plant on the maintenance
Wow.
assets and bring them
Wow.
over to Dynaway EAM. So that was significant. So it's been good. I mean, with some of the other non-traditional maintenance departments, yeah, we've had to make some modifications and, we rolled this out in quality so they could track calibrations on gauges.
Hmm.
So
Hmm.
yeah, that was not, necessarily in the normal wheelhouse of EAM, but it has worked fantastic.
Good.
So, yeah, no, in, getting the analytics initially up and running, yeah, there was a little bit, but now it's fully supported. We're able to access pretty much anything we need in EAM and present it in Power BI.
Yeah. Good.
So, good. Yeah.
Yeah, so just for our listeners, the implementation at the first department, was that 3 weeks or 3 months or 3 years? Yeah.
2 months. Two
Yeah,
months,
a couple
start
of
to
months.
finish. Yep.
Good. Good.
Yep.
Okay.
And it was really just working through little things. I mean, we even started uh, barcoding all of our assets with aluminum barcodes.
Okay.
So that's why we had to go out and buy a laser marking system,
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
and we had started printing these aluminum tags and
Yeah.
attaching it,
Yeah.
and we issued the maintenance staff tablets, Windows Surface tablets, and they just carry those around. They scan that barcode right inside
Yep.
EAM. They're able to bring up the asset. They can complete workers. So some of that stuff took a little bit of time. We had to
Yeah.
test it, but still
Yeah.
60 days is fast. I mean,
Yeah.
we can't say we were disappointed with that. I think
Yeah.
everybody thought, even the maintenance manager was in doubt. He
Yeah.
was like, "It's done? How is this possible?" I was like, "No, it's done."
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah. Fantastic. Well, are there, what are the measurable or maybe even non-measurable impacts to the business? Can you kind of say what it's meant to have this in place? How's it impacted your day-to-day operations?
Well, I'll tell you just the basics.
Okay.
Prior to this, even though we had a CMMS, all the maintenance activities were being done on paper. So the maintenance manager would log into his CMMS and print out all the work orders due for that day, distribute them to his staff. They would go out, handwrite in everything. They'd bring them back to him. He would then key them into the system.
Wow.
Then he would take that stack of papers upstairs to our office area, and one of the assistants upstairs would file them all. Well, we also are an ISO organization. So we have somebody who is responsible for gathering analytics and producing KPIs.
Mm.
He would have to request that data. So then somebody in IT would log into the CMS, export it out to Excel, give it to him. He would then copy paste that data into his own Excel so he could produce his KPIs. That's just low level
Yeah.
improvements that
Yeah.
we eliminated, 100% eliminated it. There's no more
Fantastic.
paper. The KPIs are automatically generated through Power BI. All of that is gone. Um, Not to mention our ability to have, like I mentioned earlier, a view of all of our maintenance activities in the organization. And now we're getting ready to roll out requests as well for all three of those departments,
Okay.
which will have a significant impact on our operations. It's it'll be measurable to a degree, but currently, if somebody needs maintenance services from either the tooling department, maintenance, or quality, they have to go find them, or they have to
Mm.
go to their supervisor and ask the supervisor to go get them. So now what we're doing is we're rolling out the request piece. We asked for an enhancement from Dynaway for that to be able to have checklists and maintenance requests, and
Mm.
they did it rather quickly.
Wow.
So, because there are some questions that we need answered for certain departments before a request can be submitted. So now the operators will be able to submit requests straight from their work center. They won't have to leave. They won't have to go find anybody. And we have these big screens mounted in each of the departments, and the requests show up there. And all of the people that handle the requests get an alert on their phone that there's a request. So it is going to have a significant impact on our operations once we finish that implementation. Hopefully we'll have that rolled out in 2 of the plants within the next 60 days because we have to install, kiosk input devices
Yeah.
on all of these work centers. So
Yeah.
that's actually that takes the longest is
Yeah.
getting that part done.
The hardware. Yeah.
Yeah, the hardware. Yeah.
Infrastructure. Yeah,
Yes.
for sure. That's marvelous. That's marvelous. You talked a lot about analytics. Yeah, I'm sure you're tracking a multitude of things, but what's one or two of the big ones so our listeners can kind of understand what you're getting out of the system?
Sure. I mean, the top level stuff that's important for our audits, as well as just monitoring performance,
Hmm.
is total work orders. Total work orders by the company, by plant, by department, down to the tech, right? So we
Okay.
know what
Right.
they're doing. Um, but also percentage and total work orders completed on time is important. And so some of the features that Dynaway has for that is fantastic, to be able to see it. And we can, of course, see when it was originally planned and if that date was even changed to a
Right.
different day and ask questions.
Yeah.
Uh, you know, that doesn't always go over the best, but it honestly is a great tool. And normally, even when we chase those down, there's good reason behind it, right? There's
Hmm.
something going on. But now we have that. We'd never
Hmm.
had that before. So, in the way we have our Power BI dashboard set up, they can see the KPIs and those totals, but also we have the detailed data on other pages. So, if they want to click through, they can go in and actually look at the individual work orders to see what was going on. So, really, what it's nice about it is managers don't necessarily have to log into Dynaway. They can look at the reports. They only need to go in there if they really need to get into where the rubber meets the road, so to say.
Gotcha. Wow, that's fantastic. I love hearing the real world examples.
Yeah.
Those are I guess exciting and inspiring to someone like me that's helping companies. So
Yeah.
good to hear.
Yep.
Let's transition. I know you're going to be a speaker at Dynaway Connect coming up in April. We're
Hmm.
really excited about it. Dynaway Connect, of course, we've talked about it a lot on this channel, but it's the enterprise asset management conference for the solutions that Dynaway offers. Last year was primarily on F&O. This year, BC is added as well. So we're really excited. Can you tell us a little bit about kind of what you're going to be speaking on and what you hope people get out of that?
Well, I will be touching a lot upon, I mean, the focus of my session is around implementing it in other departments, right?
Hmm.
Non-traditional departments, how we did that, our approach, which we spoke a lot about here, but I'll go more in depth and actually go through, you know, our planning of that all the way to fruition. Um, my hope is that the takeaway for some of these managers is to look at opportunities that in their organization.
Yeah.
Break down some of the traditional silos that you see in manufacturing, and you let's look at maintenance activities, not maintenance department, right? That's what we did. We started looking at, okay, these are all maintenance activities. They're spread across departments, but that's what they are. So yeah, that's what I hope to talk about, how we put together the analytics on that,
Mhm.
our project management of that, as well as the process and procedure. So a lot of what we discussed here, but a little more in depth
Yeah.
with some examples.
Yeah. Oh, that's gonna be awesome. Can't wait to see that. So exciting, exciting. Just in general, last question. Uh, you've probably been to many conferences. We talked about this a little before the podcast started. What's your takeaway? Are these valuable to maintenance guys and operations guys like yourself out there? Should they come to these kind of events? Do they provide value for you and your career?
Absolutely. I mean, the sessions are great to learn more about, especially areas that you have interest in,
Hmm.
which I have mine already carved out, my most important sessions, around data management, data
Hmm.
analytics, financial management, which we're
Hmm.
getting ready to venture into, and manufacturing,
Hmm.
because we Obviously, we're going to move our scheduling for our production floor there. So those are important. But what I find, what I think is great about these is the networking component too,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
is that has proven to be valuable for years after I attend a conference. Because now you've got a group of like-minded people that we can draw on each other's experiences, knowledge. That's more valuable than anything I've ever gleaned from sitting down and reading a training manual or going through a
Right.
training. It's like you mentioned earlier, the real world. What
Yes.
happens, what other people's experiences were, how they got around it.
Yes.
That's one of the most valuable thing about these conferences. So that's what I'm looking forward to, is getting out
Yeah.
there. And I want to hear other people's stories, right? What they did and what they're doing. And maybe I'll be able to provide some useful information for them as well to bring back to their organization.
I totally agree. The networking and the stories are amazing, and that's
Mhm.
really where you can understand what the ecosystem is like and how people are using the products and
Yeah.
processes that they are challenged with every day. So I'm excited about that.
Yep.
All right.
Absolutely. Great.
Well, I really appreciate your time today. That kind of brings us to the end of the episode, but I do want to remind everyone out there that whether you're watching on or listening on a podcast or watching on Spotify or YouTube, please follow, like, comment. Would love to hear your feedback, and we look forward to seeing you next time on Dynaway Dialogues. Thanks for joining, Scott.
Thank you. All
Bye,
right.
everyone.
Bye.